Thanks very much, Ken Warkentin, and welcome everybody to In the Sulky. I'm Dave Little, and our special guest tonight is Stacy Chiodo, a trainer-driver here at the Meadowlands for many years. Stacy, thanks so much for spending some time with us on a Saturday night.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
You know, there are 34 trainers listed in the standings in the front of the program at the Meadowlands, and in terms of win percentage, you sit at the top of the heap at 27%. It must make you feel good to be number one at the number one track.
Oh, absolutely. I was joking last night that I haven't even made the standings, let alone be sitting third. So I actually took a picture of it, texted it to my mom last night.
Yeah, you're doing very well in the early stages, obviously, of the year, and hope to keep it going. Now, in the past, you've done most of the driving for the horses in your stable, but this year you're nursing a bad back. What happened there?
I was rear-ended the week before Christmas and suffered 2 herniated discs in my neck. So it's causing some weakness, numbness in my arms, and I'm still working with the doctors to get straightened out. So I don't want to go out there unless I'm 100%.
So what happens in the morning? Your husband Bruno got to do all the work, or
Yeah,
what?
luckily I'm able to, kind of captain from the sidelines.
Now, when you obviously are back to 100%, are you going to return to driving most of the stock, or since things are going so well, are you going to keep things the way they are?
I'll probably keep things mostly the way they are. Most of the guys are getting along with the horse as well. There's a few that I enjoy driving week in, week out, a couple of the ones that I own, and I'm hopefully sometime this summer I'll be able to get back because I have some yearlings that I'd like to start myself.
All right, now let's take a look at something that I call the Chiodos to Stacy, and we're going to talk about some things. First of all, your training career began in 2002, and among that, you had your best year, obviously, in 2021, and you have 326 career wins as a trainer. Now, as I see it, you're kind of a raceway stock type of trainer where you kind of got to grind out a living. How is that for you in comparison to some of the other guys who have these big stakes horses? Obviously, you'd love to have a lot of those, but you don't have them, so you're kind of a grinder day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some nice horses right now that are great overnight horses. Tonight they're up pretty high in the ranks because they got quite a bit of money on their card. I'm sure they're going to appreciate a few weeks from now when they get some of that money off their card. All
right, now, it's always great to have a signature horse, which gives you a signature moment. And there is one in particular who made you a part of harness racing history. Please walk us through the latter stages of your horse, Mighty Young Joe, making you the fastest female driver in the history of the sport back on May the 3rd, 2014.
Joe was just an amazing horse. I got a 2-hole trip behind Corey that night, and when I pulled him the top of the stretch, he just grinded it out like he did week in, week out, and I knew I was getting close to breaking 50, and that just happened to work out that night.
It was a matter of 7 years when he went 150-3, and then again, it was all that time later that he lowered his lifetime best by a second. I mean, how did he maintain that high level of success for such a long amount of time?
He's just a bit of a freak of nature, honestly. He just gave his all week in, week out, and horses like him are very hard to come by.
All right. Now, currently, you have 13 horses in your stable.
Yep.
You told me that you had 15, but you have 2 of them that are out.
Yeah, we turned 2 yearlings out for about a month and a half, just to give them a little bit of time to catch up growth-wise, and so we have 13 we're working right now.
All right. Now, to date, the standout at the current Meadowlands meeting has been Chaser Hanover. Now, let's take a look at Chaser Hanover completing a 3-race winning streak on March the 27th with a phenomenal 149-3 lifetime best mile after sprinting home in 26-3.
Chaser's just been an awesome animal. He was a little quirky training him down as a 2-year-old, but once he learned the ranks, he's really turned into a very nice horse. Andy really had a way. Andy gets along with him great. Everyone else that's driven him does well with him. They say he's just a pleasure to drive.
Now, Chaser, is a horse who obviously got nailed by dealer's table 2 starts back, and he was in super tough in last. And talk about being in super tough once again, facing the likes of Anna, Freet, Sintra, Sand between my toes tonight. Now, I don't know if Chaser Hanover is that kind of horse. What do you think?
I guess we'll find out tonight. Actually, after his last start, he did tie up a little bit. Something just was a little bit off that night, so we went ahead and gave him the week off. Trained him lightly going into this week, so we'll see how he is tonight.
Is it the type of thing, Stacy, where you're kind of hoping for checks, racing against the preferred handicap stocks, or to wait for some earnings to come off your card and go back to winning, maybe against the non-winners of 15s or the non-winners of 10-5s?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we're not going to send him out there with the intentions that he's going to win tonight. Mark's going to give him a nice trip and race him and, give him a shot. Hopefully we come out with a check, and if not, like I said, it'll work on getting some money off of his card.
All right, now, there is obviously Mighty Young Joe is a horse who means an awful lot to you. But there's another horse in your barn right now who could very well be the best that you've ever had. And it's a 3-year-old colt by Sweet Lou by the name of Whole Lotta Lou, who started this season like a house on fire, winning consecutive races in 152-1, but he scratched last week. Can you give us an update on Whole Lotta Lou?
So Lou, like I said, his first 2 starts for us this year were phenomenal. Had no complaints. Andy loves him. The week that I scratched him, he was a little bit dull when I trained him. His blood work was a little bit off. I didn't want to take the chance to run him down, so I went ahead and scratched him. And then when I trained him that weekend, he trained like a monster, back to himself again. And unfortunately, Monday morning when I jogged him, he was a little bit off. We're working with the vets right now to find out what he did. I'm not sure if he hurt himself in the stall or exactly what's wrong, but so hopefully I'll get some answers next week.
Do you have a hunch as to what might be wrong, and do you think it might be a long-term thing?
I really have no guesses right now. This is one of those head scratchers. We did some blocking work with the vets and can't quite figure it out, so we do have to take him somewhere on Monday. So.
All right, now Sweet Lotta Lou is a horse, obviously, with tremendous potential and tremendous upside. But before we go, I want to talk to you about a horse that you have in tonight's second race. He doesn't have an awful lot of good going on this year, but you told me that in his last 2 qualifiers at Freehold, Rock to Glory was pretty good. Now he's in the Trackmaster 73.5, so that's a cheap horse, for lack of a better term, but he's a horse who you think might be able to show some improvement.
We're quite interested to see what he does tonight. My husband Bruno's working on getting his qualifying license, or his P license, to drive in some amateur races, and that's me pushing him to do it, not by his wanting to. So I went ahead and bought Rock to Glory for him. He's a nice old, war horse, week in, week out. He's had a tough career. He's actually seems like he's bravened up a lot, racing, doing the qualifiers at Freehold. So we thought we'll give him a run, see how he feels, and if it seems like he's had enough, we're looking forward to retiring him and finding him a good home.
Before we say goodnight, a little birdie told me that you like to give out healthy recipes online. What's that all about?
I do. So I started with a program that I was able to lose 50 pounds. So anybody that knew me before, I was able to get a lot of weight off. And I love sharing the recipes and helping people lose weight and get healthy.
Well, I could certainly use some help in that. I'm a little bit bored with my diet for the last year, so maybe I'm going to look that up. Stacy Chiodo, thanks so much for spending some time with us on a Saturday night, and continued success at the current Meadowlands meeting.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's been a pleasure.
All right, thanks so much to Stacy. In about 60 seconds, Dave Brower's going to jump in that chair as Stacy goes to the backside and gets to work. And when Brower gets in, we'll talk about this morning's qualifying action and tonight's featured action.